USCHO.com. This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from U.S. College Hockey Online at USCHO.com, featuring conversations with college hockey coaches and players and journalists who cover the sport.
Welcome to USCHO Spotlight for Tuesday, December 3rd, 2019. I'm Ed Trefzger alongside Jim Connelly.
And joining us on this week's USCHO Spotlight, the head coach of the Army West Point Black Knights, that's Brian Riley. Brian, a nice little season you put together to date. 6 out of the last 7 games you've won. What seems to be working well for your program right now?
Well, Jim, I think if you look at any team that has success, it starts with goaltending. You know, teams that are winning are getting good goaltending, and for us, that's certainly where it started. You know, Trevin Kozlowski has been very good. I mean, he's given us a chance in just about, I'd say, every game, but maybe one. And as a result of him playing how he's playing, it's given our guys confidence. And when a team has confidence, you know, you can do some pretty good things. And so we understand, like, we've got off to a good start, and that's great. But certainly, I also understand there's a lot of hockey left to be played.
There certainly is. And I look at this season compared to last season. Here you are at, the top of the Atlantic standings, almost at the midway point of the season. What do you feel are some of the differences between last year? I know you had a number of injuries last year, but there has to be a little bit more than that. What do you feel are some of the big differences between last year's team and what has improved to this year?
Well, like you said, I mean, last year was probably, of all my years coaching, the year where we had the most, missed games because of injuries, and one of them was Trevin. Coming down the stretch, we were finally able to figure it out a little bit, and Matt Penta went in for us and did a good job. But you can't teach experience, and our senior class has been around. This is their 4th year, and you need your best players to be your best players, and you know what? They're starting to get heated up a little bit, and then it's just a confidence thing. Half of being good is thinking you're good, and when you win games, and for us, a lot of these games have been very close games, could have gone either way, but we found a way to get on the right side of it, and our guys feel very comfortable in, these close 1-goal games. And as a result, we've been able to put some wins on the board here early.
When I look at your schedule to date, you've only played 6 home games. You're 4-2, a nice respectable record there, but 8 games away from home, 6-2 record. That's one of the better road marks, not just in the league, but in the country. What does your team do on the road that maybe makes them a little bit more successful? Is it sometimes just getting away from the campus and the pressures of school and all that sort of stuff? Or is there something more to it?
Well, certainly at West Point, our guys like to get away, right? they can go to a nice hotel and sleep in, and but it's just, I think part of it's a mindset. It's hard to win. It's certainly hard to win on the road, but the fact that we were able to win some games early on the road, it just has given our guys confidence. But for sure. Here at West Point, like I said, to be able to get away and get in a hotel, and it is something that our players really like.
We're talking with Brian Riley, head coach at Army West Point. I've gotten to see your team this year, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about some of the specific players and then about some of the successes you've had in individual parts of the game. Why don't we start with the penalty kill? Up until this past week, you'd only given up 1.
Yeah.
What has been so successful about your penalty kill this season?
Well, first of all, I have to give all the credit to Zach McKelvey. Zach runs the PK unit. He is an unbelievable coach with a great hockey mind. So he's done a great job. The players that are on the penalty kill take a lot of pride in going over the boards and you know what? Saying, hey, we're going to get this done. The interesting thing, we gave up a 5-on-4 goal, I think the first game of the year, and the goal that we gave up last week against AIC was a 6-on-4, and then we gave up a 5-on-3 and a 4-on-3 to Canisius. So, our guys that kill the penalties are totally dialed in, and like I said, Zach prepares these guys every game for what they're going to see, and makes adjustments throughout the course of the game.
Before we went on, I was saying to Jim, your Army team this year reminds me a little bit of what I've seen from Minnesota Duluth the last couple of years, not necessarily in any parts of the game specifically, but kind of in temperament. There's a steadiness and relentless about your team. And I think a lot of that you'd have to point toward your senior class.
Absolutely. I think for any program, you have to have great leadership. And that's what I talked about earlier. Like, your best players have to be your best players, and they have to set a great example. And we have a very good senior class, very talented senior class. And so we're kind of going as they go. And the younger players are just learning from them. So, like I said earlier too, like, experience, you can't teach experience. And these guys have been in a lot of games, and so they are doing a great job as far as leading the way and showing the younger guys how we need to play. Not only how we need to play, but how we need to practice. Like, since our practices started in August, I could probably, I chart them all and take notes, and I think there's probably been only 3 practices that I felt when we got off the ice, like, you know what, that wasn't good enough. So credit to those guys.
One player, we talked about this when I saw you at Army a couple of weeks ago, a guy who never seems to come off the ice, senior Dominic Franco. One of the things that impresses me with him is, for a guy who's 6'5", he's also a very good skater. He doesn't seem like a clumsy guy like some of the bigger players do.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people don't realize that, but when you watch him, he obviously at 6'5", you're going to cover a lot of ground, but he is very smooth. The big thing about him is, as a result of his wingspan and his 6'5" body, when he gets the puck, it's hard to get it from him. He is obviously one of our top players, and I think he has the ability to be one of the top players in our league.
A couple other seniors that are right at the top of your statistics who are pretty impressive, and if I remember right, they're both on your first line, Zach Evancho and Michael Wilson.
Yes, and so that line really had it going this weekend. Vanch, I think he's a Buffalo kid, went back home, picked up 6 points in 2 games. Wills, to me, is, your as you look at him, when you think of a power forward, that's a Michael Wilson. I mean, he's strong, he can skate, he can shoot, and like I said, if those guys are going, and it seems like they're starting to get going here now, I think that'll bode well for us.
We talked a little bit about Trevin Kozlowski. He certainly has been a brick wall for you in net, .920 save percentage and just below 2 goals a game. Already played as many games as last year because of the injury. Was it a little bit of a struggle last year when he came back from the injury? It seems like he was giving up a few more goals than typical.
Yes, and you know what? That was my fault. So he was out for about 3 months, 2.5 months, and when he came back, I think his first weekend might have been at RIT. And instead of, kind of spoon feeding him a little bit and giving him a game and taking a game off, like I threw him right into the fire and played him, I think, back-to-back weekends. And that just wasn't good for his confidence. And so that was on me. But now that he's healthy, I think people say, if you have a save percentage between 90 and 92, you're probably 50-50 chance to win. If you're below 90, that's not good. But if you're 92 or above, like, you're going to win some hockey games. And the other thing about that is we're not giving up a lot of shots, and that's a credit to how our guys are playing without the puck. I think it might be 24, 23 shots against. So if we can continue to do that, and Trev, stays healthy, I'm confident that he'll continue to have good numbers.
More with Army West Point head coach Brian Riley in a moment.
This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from US College Hockey Online.
This is USCHO Spotlight. We are talking with Army West Point head coach. That's Brian Riley. And Brian, up until last year, you had the chance to serve on the NCAA Men's Division I Ice Hockey Committee. That's the crew that basically runs the championship every year. What was that experience like? The process, the relationships, just the exposure to such a great annual event. What was that like for you?
Oh, that was a fantastic experience. I've been in the game for a while, and I obviously saw all these events, but didn't really realize how a lot of things how they happened, right? And then I became president of the Coaches Association. I got on this committee. Like, I couldn't get off a committee, but serving on the championship committee, what was, like I said, a great experience, opportunity to interact with not only coaches but administrators, and that I never would have been able to, and but then to sit down and try to do what is best for college hockey, and obviously when you come from the different leagues, everybody has their own opinions, so there are always some interesting conversations, but I wouldn't change it. I'm very, very thankful that I had the opportunity to do that. And I would tell any coach that, if you have the opportunity in some way to give back, whether it's, be on the committee or, be on the board as far as American Hockey Coaches Association, I would encourage them to do that, because you have an opportunity to meet a lot of neat people, and the college hockey family is, I think, has a great group, and so I'm thankful that I was given that opportunity.
Your league, Atlantic Hockey, they have been sitting with 11 members for a number of years now, and you talk to coaches and administrators, and they say there's nothing wrong with 11, but 12 is always a nice round square number, however you want to put it. It just seems to be a number that fits well in college athletics. And obviously the rumor mill always circulates around Navy as a potential team to join the league. You're at a military academy. Obviously, Frank Serratori out at Air Force and Military Academy. To put a third one in that league, would that be something that just further makes Atlantic Hockey the perfect home for your team?
Well, I think that obviously, like you said, at 11, you know what, we make it happen, but it makes for an unbalanced schedule. So 12 would definitely be a better situation. And yes, like I've heard. I've heard for a few years now, Navy, but it seems as of late, I'm hearing, this could happen. So to have the 3 service academies in one league, I think that would be awesome. The rivalries, certainly here at West Point, everywhere you go is beat Navy. And, so obviously football, we don't play Navy. But I think if we were to add them, it would be great for the league. But I think it'd be pretty neat to have, Army and Navy going at it in hockey like they do in all the other sports here.
We're talking with Brian Riley, head coach at Army West Point. One of the things Atlantic Hockey adopted for this season is the 3-on-3 and shootout. Now, you haven't had to go through that yet, I don't believe, but
no, I thought we were, and Canisius on Friday. I was starting to look at my sheet like, uh-oh, what are we going to do here? But yeah.
Yeah, and then 3 seconds, you get the game-winning goal. That must have been a crazy one, fighting back like
feeling.
That. Yep. But the 3-on-3 and the shootout, there are 4 of the 6 leagues now that have adopted that. Do you see that, especially with this year being a rules change year, do you see that as something that is inevitable to go across the board?
It seems like, and our league was kind of split, and I'm not going to lie, like I was in favor of keeping it how it was. Maybe I'm a traditionalist, and I think, 3-on-3, it is exciting, but I've never noticed a 5-on-5 overtime that isn't exciting either. But it seems like the trend is going that way. And so I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, with this year being a rule change year. Whatever they decide, I just think it's important that everybody is doing the same thing, and not having, 2 leagues doing this, 4 leagues doing this. I mean, put it out there, put it in the rule book. Hey, this is what we're going to do. And if it's 3-on-3, then let's do it.
Another area that the NCAA has expanded the usage of in officiating is video. And I know things are still trying to get sorted out and get a feel on when it's the right time, when it's not. What are your thoughts on that? Is it at the right place? Do we need to be looking to adjust?
I again, like, this is the old school in me coming out, and I understand, like, wanting to get the calls right. But my God, we go to some of these videos and, you know what? You're sitting there waiting. Some rinks you go into, the refs come back and say, well, they don't have a view of it. I don't know what the right answer with that is. Obviously, I do I want the calls to be right, but I guess when it comes to player safety, if certainly looking at that, but I almost need a cheat sheet on the bench to say, hey, what can you review? What can't you review? What causes the timeout? So I just think it just taken, like, our game is becoming so much longer. You have video. Now we do 5-minute overtime, and then we do 5-minute 3-on-3, and then you do a shootout. You're in the building for a long time. And when you're playing at 7:00 at night and you want to have families there and little kids I don't know. I'm not sure what the right answer is, but hopefully it's something that we can figure out and come to an agreement with.
I think everybody's in favor of speeding up the game personally. But Brian, before we let you go, this weekend, Bentley comes to town. They're a team similar to you that is playing well. A 3-win week for them last week, a non-conference win against Brown, and then a sweep of Holy Cross. What do you know about this Bentley team? Obviously, they were predicted to finish very high in the standings this year. Haven't lived up to that, but they seem to be heading in the right direction now. What are your thoughts about Bentley as they come in?
Well, the one thing I know about them, they kicked our butt earlier in the year, 5-0 at their place. So I know one thing, like, they're a good team, and they're a team that will always challenge you to outwork them. To me, they're blue collar, but they're skilled. So it's a great test for us because, you know what, we like to think that we're a blue collar team and work hard, but they definitely took it to us up there. I think it was in October. It looks like they're coming in here feeling very good about themselves. It should be a great weekend of hockey, and if we're gonna have any success against them, we're certainly gonna need to play, bring our A game, because I think when it's all said and done, they'll probably be a team that works its way to the top of our league.
Well, it should be a very good weekend of hockey. Bentley down at Army West Point for 2 games, Friday and Saturday. Brian Riley, like we said, great season so far. We look forward to following you throughout the season, and hopefully we can catch up again a little bit later in the year.
All right, Jim and Ed, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure, and appreciate all that you guys do for college hockey.
Well, Jim, we've gotten to know Brian Riley quite well over the years in all of his functions, especially on the NCAA committee and in his role as head coach at Army. He's one of the guys who has a great view of the game, and I was really interested to hear his views both on the overtime and on video. Indeed, the games do get stretched out, but on the other hand, you do want to make sure you get injuries called correctly.
Yeah, he makes some really good points there, and we have gotten some extremely long games because of video review, but I was going back through some old notes today, and this was from, I think, almost 8 or 10 years ago, when it was a game that just had a lot of penalties called in it. It was a TV game, and, the game got over at 10 o'clock at night. So this can happen anytime, and you hope that the use of video review is used sparingly. I think it needs to be used when needed. I really like to see officials call the game on the ice with their own eyes, because they're usually as good as video review. Do they miss things? Of course, but there's no need to spend 15 minutes a night inside the penalty boxes when they can be spent on the ice. Another thing to point out, and just, this is about Brian himself, I don't know that he's ever going to be a guy that could give up coaching, but if he did, he would make a great administrator of this game. I think that he's got a great vision for what needs to happen. And I think that he is one of those guys that has learned and kind of been a sponge throughout his entire coaching life and collegiate athletics life, that he would be a great, whether it's a commissioner or somebody, that represents the NCAA or on the officiating side, whatever it might be, even just on the coaches side. He did a great job with the American Hockey Coaches Association on the NCAA committee. He would be one of those guys that I could just see taking a great job at some point in his career.
Agreed. Well, that's going to do it for USCHO Spotlight for this week. Catch all our USCHO podcasts, including Weekend Review on Mondays and Game of the Week on Thursdays. You'll find them all at uscho.com/podcasts. For Jim Connelly, I'm Ed Trefzger, and we'll catch you next time.
This has been the USCHO Spotlight, a production of U.S. College Hockey Online. Visit uscho.com/podcasts to listen or subscribe.